three friends were discussing death, and one of them asked, "What would you like people to say about you at your funeral?" The first of the friends said, "I would like them to say he was a great humanitarian who cared about his community." The second one said, "He was a great father and husband who was an example for many to follow." The third friend said, "I would like them to say, 'Look, he's moving.'" But I'm not going to talk about death today. In the year 451, the Council of Chalcedon, the hypostatic union of Jesus Christ's two natures, was defined. The hypostatic union is the fact that Jesus was fully divine and at the same time fully human. Today, I'd like to talk about his humanity and ours. First, Jesus. When Jimmy was 16 years old, his grandmother died. Jimmy's family had moved far from his father's family many years before, and Jimmy didn't know his grandmother very well. Her death was unexpected, and Jimmy was the only one home when the phone call came. The responsibility of telling his dad about the death fell to Jimmy. His parents were at church for a Sunday school potluck, so Jimmy drove to the church, found his father, and took him aside to give him the news. For the first time in his life, Jimmy saw his father cry. In that awful moment, his father became more real to him than ever before. It was the tears that made him real. It was the tears that connected them in those moments and ever after. It is the tears shed for Lazarus that connect us with Jesus, the human side of the mystery of the incarnation. A Christ can make the blind see. A Christ can make the lame walk. The Christ can feed thousands on a mountainside. The Christ can walk on water, can turn water into wine, and make wine into the grace of God. But only tears can make Christ into a Jesus. The tears make Jesus more like us, and they assure us that God understands our pain, our grief, our sorrow, and our humanity. We can thank God for these simple words in our gospel today. Jesus wept. I'd like to talk about our humanity by way of the characters we find in our gospel today, all except Lazarus. Because all of the characters we meet in the gospel today said, in not so many words, Jesus was not doing things the right way. When he was alerted that his friend Lazarus was sick and ill, what did he do? He waited 2 more days. 2 more days. And then he said, "Let's go." They all said, "Well, he's dead. We don't need to bother anymore." When he gets there, the first words he's hit with was, "Lord, if you came, if you were here, our brother Lazarus would never have died." Not only does Martha say it, but also Mary says it. The entire community of friends gathered there at the house in Bethany say, "What's wrong with him? He could heal a man who was blind. If he was here, he could have saved Lazarus' life." And then the final straw, he's ready. Bring away the stone. Take it away. And of course, Mary says, Lord, that's wrong. There's going to be a stench. Don't do it. We know the end of the story. It didn't turn out the way they all expected. There was a big surprise. Lazarus was raised from the dead. A wonderful miracle. But the greater miracle is that many human beings got beyond their human condition and put their total faith in Jesus. It is important for us during this season of Lent. Prayer is one of those three wonderful things: almsgiving, fasting, and prayer. And I'm sure many of us are praying for the Lazaruses in our own lives. We're praying for those who might be sick and suffering, those struggling in any way. We might be praying for ourselves, for the projects we have due, that we get good grades on them. We are offering a lot of prayers, and frankly, the human condition wants to ask sometimes, God, are you really listening? Are you? We are bombarding heaven with prayers. Martha and Mary, when they expected Jesus, he didn't come. They actually probably wanted to say, God, are you really listening? Our friend, Jesus, is not coming. It is the human condition to doubt. But I think we need to take our cue for our human life from Jesus in the gospel. When he's already, the tomb has been opened, what are his first words? Father, I thank you for having heard me. You always hear me. Jesus' first words are words of gratitude to his Father, to God, and an assurance of faith, that he has great faith in his Father, who always hears his prayers. My brothers and sisters, in our human condition, the fact is, God always hears our prayers. Maybe if we begin our prayer session, rather than saying, please do this for me, to say, Lord, thank you for hearing my prayer. Thank you for being there. Thank you for always having your presence available to me. You may not answer the prayer that I want, but you answer with your presence. And maybe give me even more than I want. Maybe you give me a greater compassion for those who are suffering. A greater appreciation of the patience I so don't have and so need. A greater appreciation of God's constant love for us in every situation. We ought to always begin our prayers with a prayer of gratitude, because God never leaves our presence. That is the human condition that has that spark of the divine. We do believe in a God of surprises. Don't you like surprises? Surprise birthday parties, surprise care packages in the mail center. We like surprise emails or letters that give us good news. We believe in a God who surprises us with his presence all the time. Only sometimes we have to see with the eyes of faith. I conclude with an old Hindu poem by a man named Ravindra Kumar Karnani. A child whispered, God, speak to me. And a meadowlark sang. The child didn't hear it. So the child yelled, God, speak to me. And the thunder rolled across the sky. But the child wasn't paying attention. The child looked around and said, God, let me see you. And a star shone brightly. But the child didn't notice. And the child shouted, "God, please show me a miracle." And a life was born, but the child didn't know. So the child cried out in despair, "Touch me, God, please, and let me know you're here." Whereupon God reached down and touched the child. But the child brushed the butterfly away and walked away unknowingly. God is a God of surprises, who's always breaking into our humanity to assure us of his love, his mercy,